G'day, Daniel here. I'm standing in front of the Wittenberg Church where Martin Luther nailed the 95 theses 500 years ago on that door right behind me. This year is the 500-year jubilee when the Reformation took place. It first started on the 31st of October, 1517. In 1516, by order of the Pope Julius II, the papal commissioner to Germany was selling indulgences in Germany to rebuild the St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, i.e. the Vatican. At the time, the Roman Catholic faith's main principle was that righteousness, the act of being in harmony with God, did not depend on faith alone, rather, it required acts of charity and good works. The reward for one's good works would equate to buying a ticket access to heaven. By selling indulgences, one could atone for sin and in fact pre-order forgiveness before committing an offense. This meant that someone with the intent of doing wrong could go out and buy an indulgence, commit sins such as theft, lying, adultery, or even murder, and would be in the eyes of the church abstained from having committed sin. This system obviously brings about corruption and naturally favored the rich and wealthy to exploit their position. Luther, seeing this, understood that this was against God's plan of righteousness, and so he objected by doing the following. On 31st October 1517, he wrote 95 theses, sent a copy to the Bishop of Mainz, and nailed a copy to the door of the Wittenberg Church. Luther's intention was to make clear that forgiveness comes from God alone, not receiving divine forgiveness through a man or by selling indulgences. This idea is known as justification by faith alone. Furthermore, Luther wanted to see the Catholic Church reform itself from these and other corruptible practices by bringing the Church in line with God's divine principles. However, what we're seeing today, after 500 years, is a new movement taking place. The 95 theses that created the differences between the Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church is being put aside. Doctrine is no longer an issue. After 500 years, reconciliation is taking place. As a result of Luther's 95 theses, the Pope issued a bull that would excommunicate him if he did not retract his theses. In an act of religious zeal, Luther publicly burnt the bull. Luther was excommunicated on the 3rd of January 1521. Through Protestantism, the common person was able to occupy a copy of the Bible. People could now seek God's will and apply sacred truths for themselves. The Protestant movement became so successful in northwestern Europe that the Catholic Church feared extinction, started the Counter-Reformation. This Counter-Reformation involved a number of dirty tricks by spreading falsehoods about Protestantism, branding individuals as heretics, and vigorous persecution of Protestants. Persecutions were so bad that it was a major cause of the following wars: the German Peasant War, the Dutch-Belgian 80 Years' War, and the German 30 Years' War. Protestantism also fostered ideas that would motivate other Protestant reformers such as the French John Calvin, the Swiss Ulrich Zwingli, and others. Its influence furthered the Protestant movement in England, Denmark, and Sweden. The differences that created the Lutheran Church is now being put aside. And I'm wondering, is this something that God saw in advance? Is this something that can be reconciled? Should it be reconciled? Many Protestants refer to Luther as one of God's champions who challenged the establishment with basic biblical ideas. His work brought on a movement that reformed Christianity. His search for truth is something that is found in many Protestant movements today. By referring back to the Bible, by sincerely wanting to follow truth and to remove corruptible ideology, Luther was a catalyst who brought change into the Christian world. He will always be remembered as a person who single-handedly challenged a monolithic church who had lost its way. It's clear that God was with Luther. However, today, we see that there is a new movement taking place. Almost 500 years after Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the church door, both the Roman Catholic and the Lutheran churches are seeking to put aside their differences. On October 31st, 2016, in Malmö, Sweden, a joint declaration was signed to bring the two churches together. Doctrinal differences are to be put aside for the benefit of reconciliation. This is what worries me. 500 years after the start of the Reformation, doctrinal differences are being put aside, and they're now being discounted as having a matter of difference of opinion. And I wonder, is this correct? This new ecumenical movement reminds me of what the Bible refers to in Revelation 13, where a deadly wound is healed, similar to a situation where a beast who received an almost fatal wound who seems to recover from its near-death experience. In Revelation 13:2, it reads, "And the dragon gave the beast his power and throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast appeared to be fatally wounded, but the mortal wound was healed, and the whole world was astonished and followed the beast." These doctrinal differences are now being put aside as a result of an ecumenical movement in order to create unity. What is happening now is water is being added to wine. Something that was doctrinally pure is now being watered down. And I wonder if that is correct. And I wonder if the Lutheran Church is still relevant for today.